I'm back with another video. If you're new here, I'm Laura and my art name is Tomato Illustrates and I'm a mixed media artist. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be doing some sketchbooking. As you can see, I drew a mushroom and that is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the page and the spread. So yeah, stick around if you want to see some mushrooms. In today's drawings, I'm going to be using primarily only acrylic markers. I'm also going to be using a little bit of pencils, colour pencils for the sketches, as well as some of the details after I go over with the acrylic markers. I sat down on this day and I drew that really cute like little button mushroom, very effortless, very like quick, and I used references from Pinterest for all of these, so I don't know, it was just such a nice way to like get out of my head and like just jot down ideas without really having to think about them. And sometimes those kind of days are necessary to like kind of reset and get your ideas back, because sometimes I sit down and I'm not very motivated to do anything, but I still want to use my materials and I want to like do something. So the most low effort things that I can do is just using references and creating pieces from what I see instead of actually having to use brain power and getting ideas and like putting things together. And yeah, so I loved how the first one came out and I didn't film it, so I do apologize, but after that I knew I want to do more and I just had this plan. I'm gonna do mushrooms for this whole spread, so yeah, I hope you like them. So my approach to acrylic markers is not really like painting, but maybe in a way it is, because acrylic is obviously a medium of paint, and I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of acrylic at all. I don't know what it is, me and acrylic just never really got along. And yeah, however, I do love thick like heavy body paints, but I mainly use gouache and acrylic gouache, but acrylic itself, I don't know what it is, I just find it really frustrating because I find it hard to blend as well as how quickly it dries, so obviously that is like the biggest issue. But my second issue with acrylic is the sheen, like when you paint and you finish a piece, the shininess of it, like I don't know what it is about it, but it's not my favorite, and I much prefer my paintings to be matte, just because like it's easier to photograph and scanning it goes a lot easier as well. And overall I just much prefer gouache, and I did discover acrylic gouache quite recently. I'm still pretty new at it, and yeah, I do love it, but again, it dries very fast. But I think I can forgive it because of the finish, the matte finish. But yeah, my approach to these little illustrations was just to like kind of layer and mess around with the shapes rather than focusing too much on the details. I did play around with the lighting a little bit, just like in the photos. I kind of like tried to imitate the lighting and try and match the colors as best as I could with the markers that I had. And I actually really enjoy the way that these came out. It's probably my favorite spread in this whole sketchbook. As you can see, all I'm doing is just layering. Like, I'm not blending anything because it really doesn't come naturally with me, even with markers. I know that you can blend these acrylic markers, but I really struggle doing that, so I just kind of avoid it. So for this reference, I chose to do, I believe everybody's seen this teeny tiny little blue mushroom, which is so sparkly, and I wanted to draw it. I don't know how well I did, considering like the shine and the glitters on this teeny mushroom, but I did try my best to kind of imitate it. I will admit this one took me a while to finish, just because I really struggled making it look not too busy, even though I did make it very busy, as you will see. I can't really explain my thought process behind how I layered the colors in. I kind of do it according to like whether the background kind of like blends in with the object that I'm painting. So for the mushrooms, the first one, I kind of blocked in all of the colors, the first two, sorry. I kind of blocked in all the colors first of the mushrooms, and then I did the backgrounds after. Whereas for this one, I feel like the background and the mushroom itself has very similar colors, so I kind of like did them both together in a way. So yeah, and then I decided to use the silver and gold Arctic markers, as well as I believe some of the Posca, because the Posca has the smaller nibs that I was using specifically. And then I used pencils, as you can see, to like kind of bring in some texture and kind of like differentiate the mushroom from the background, because I realized they were way too similar, but I didn't have the appropriate colors. So the layout of these mushrooms that I chose was, I had some pins saved on Pinterest of mushrooms that I like and I go back to often. And yeah, I kind of chose them by colors. So I wanted to like try out as many colors as I could to like use these markers, because most of the time I do paint and I kind of leave these markers on the back burner and I don't get around to using them as often because I'm obsessed with painting. And so I kind of wanted to test out as many as I could, because I do love these markers and I love acrylic markers in general. They're so convenient and easy, and I kind of just wanted to experiment with all the colors to see what they're really like, because even in the reviews I don't get around to using every single color. Okay, so I think this illustration, number 5, is my favorite from the whole spread. I think it also took me the longest, just because of how many like detailed shapes there is of the little like, I don't know, like holes maybe? I don't really know what you'd call them, but yeah, it was super fun, and this one actually went quite smoothly. I didn't really have too many issues with it, I don't think. I think at some point I did start to notice that I was kind of overdoing it and I had to like tone it back a little bit at a point, but other than that, I really enjoyed this one. I started with the holes first because I knew I could like do this effect where I can do this gradient after, and I feel like the colors are similar, so I can't do it all at once. So I kind of just like chose elements to go with first, and that's kind of like how I approach these little illustrations. I try and focus on the bits that kind of like make sense to start with first. I genuinely can't tell you what my thought process is, as I mentioned earlier. It's kind of like magical to watch me paint it back, just purely because it's so interesting to myself. I know that might be weird to say, but sometimes I do something so effortlessly and so like mindlessly where when I look back at it, I'm like, how did I do that? Because I weren't thinking in the moment, I was just doing. And this is kind of how some of the processes go for me, and I don't know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, it's quite interesting. I really love the contrast between the reds and the blues. Blues and the greys kind of like match with each other and make it stand out, and I really enjoy that. What I also did with pretty much all of these is, you can see, like, I just chose like a random color and went around the borders to make them stand out a little bit more, using the pencils over the top of the acrylic markers is a little bit difficult, and it leaves these little dust particles, so I cleaned them off with a paintbrush. But it's kind of hard to get the pencil to show up on top of the acrylic markers, so yeah, that's why I chose like a different color in the background on the borders of the mushrooms to make them stand out more. Primarily, I've been doing this for a lot of my drawings, and I mainly choose like a turquoisey green, where like it's just such a nice color, and it's kind of believable because it could be grass and it could be sky at the same time, so it's a little bit believable, but at the same time it just looks really nice, and I'm obsessed with that color. And for the last illustration, I decided to do this like little panel where I do these longer mushrooms, and I wanted to go with these mushrooms that look like, I don't know, like these periwinkle, like cute little purple mushrooms, very unnatural. I wonder where these grow, but again, I used a reference, and the way that I chose my references was by shape and color, like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, these ones, I saw these and I knew they fit in perfectly. So for this one, I did the background after because the background was so dark, and I knew that my colors over the top, acrylic markers are good, you can layer them quite well, but even with that, I felt like the mushrooms being light, so might as well go with the lightest first and then go in with the background. Again, building these layers where there's like these grassy bits and leaves and stuff, I find it really fun to make these little environments. But yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed my mushroom spread. I had a lot of fun creating this one, and I'm super happy with how they all turned out. And I hope you enjoyed the process, and there's way more on my channel if you wish to watch more. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Just to know, I'm finished with October challenges now. You can go see them on my Instagram if you wish to see all of my 31 paintings. But other than that, I'm happy to be back, and I'm gonna be doing more videos hopefully once a week. And yeah, I hope to see you then. Bye guys.